Greetings everyone, welcome to another CLG video. Today we're going to be talking about some more Warlord Games Epic ACW. So about a month ago, actually it's been a month and 2 days, I had posted a video regarding the War Games Illustrated article on ACW that Warlord Games has just put out. Did a quick video, showed you I painted up the one free Regiments brew they gave with it, and discussed a little bit about what I thought of the line. In that video I promised that I would do a little bit of an unboxing once my stuff has come. And today I was pleasantly surprised by a phone call from my local gaming store that my starter set and a few other goodies have come in. So we're going to go through and do an open boxing of the items and take a look and see what we have in there and what we think of the overall packaging. To preface before we get into that, for those unfamiliar, when you go to Warlord Games website for the ACW starter sets, there's two of them. There's the one that's about $120, which is the base starter set that I believe as of March 24th goes up in price a little bit now that the release is starting to come, but they have the first starter set for 120 bucks. They also had a deal on their website exclusively for like $238. That gave you the starter set plus a little bit of everything extra. You got some extra regiments, you got some extra terrain, you got the Glory Hallelujah book, and a few other things there. So what my local store did for me graciously was, because I wanted that big deal, but I wanted to be able to support my local brick and mortar, and being a Sarge for them, they actually were able to get me everything that encompasses that big starter set. So I can basically show everything. And what it works out really well is that big starter set was basically the smaller $120 starter set and one of everything else that they sell. So they're basically, that's the whole first wave thing we're going to get to show you here. So I'm going to switch around the camera and show you this stuff. Now I have not opened any of it. I've been staring at this box on my table for about 4 hours now. Before I finally could get to this video, and I have not opened anything to take a look at it. So we're going to open this up the first time. I have seen some sneak peeks, but not the whole thing. So I'm really curious to see. It's a pretty beast of a box. So let's get the camera displayed here and we'll get through tearing through some stuff. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The American Civil War Epic Black Powder Starter Set. So this is a beast of a box. I mean, it's got some heft to it. I already got the saran wrap off it. Give me a second here. So we flip it over, and you can see. And sorry for the glare of the light there, but you can see it's the whole starter set here, and it is a beast. So let's dig into this bad boy first, and we'll get into all the extras here. So yeah, that is a lot of plastic. Wow, okay, so let's look at here. So we're looking at, in green here, you have the plastic bases for everyone that are generic for both sides. There's quite a stack here. Let me just do a quick count on them here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, unless I miscounted. And so these are the standard bases, and that makes sense with it being 23, because you actually get 6 of the infantry bases on these. You only need 5 for a regiment, so each one is going to end up giving an extra one, along with the artillery base for each, and you get 2 command bases. So you're going to end up getting an extra command base with those. So yes, that's why there are extra here. So we got, golly, just a slew of plastic bases. That just goes to show you what's going to end up all going on all these bad boys. So before we get into the good stuff, the standard GW, wow, they bad on me. The standard Warlord Games little mini dice that they give you, a starter dice that they give you with most of their starter sets. I have a whole bag of these, just keep collecting them. They're great for wound markers just because of the size, but that's cool. They throw those in. There's 6 of them in there for you. And then into it. So This is kind of cool because this is a little bit different than the plastic sprue you got with the War Games Illustrated magazine. Was you didn't realize until I opened up the starter set, and I've seen some sneak peeks before, but that they actually have them in blue and gray already. So that's kind of cool. You know, for those who really just want to play the game, there's nothing wrong with slapping these on a base and starting to play the game. So that's kind of cool that they come in blue and gray right off the bat. Taking one of each here, doing a quick scan. They are pretty much like we initially said in the video, and other people have said, is they are the same sprue, pretty much for blue and the gray. And I'm going to get some zoomed in pictures here, guys, don't worry. But the same for the blue and gray. So on each base, just like the individual sprue that you got with War Games Illustrated, they're the same thing. You got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 rows of 10 guys, 100 guys in a regiment. So this here equals 1 green. Pretty much, yeah, one green minus 1 base, extra base you'll have. So each one of these bad boys is a regiment. And looking at the blue here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did I count wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I did count wrong. Just so I thought. So just like the box says, there's 12 of each, 12 regiments of each. That's 1,200 figures of just infantry, for anyone who's counting. And then 12 artillery and 12 command. So they are, again, all the same sprue. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit here, so you'll be able to dig through that. So, got all the Union, and then all of the Confederate, all 12 sprues. Again, same thing. Again, pretty cool that they're color coded already. So, you know, they're the same model or same mold again, so it doesn't really matter too much. But again, you could really slap these down and play the game if you want to start playing the game. Because it is a lot going to be to paint. We were joking at the store when I picked this up of how long it's going to take me to paint these. And if I was going to stick to just these, I think when I calculated it down and I did the first video, I could probably get it down to, with how much time I get to paint each night, probably a regiment a week. But that's still 24 weeks. You know, we joked about, you know, 6 months completion will probably be to a year, because if I paint just these guys, I'm probably going to go insane. So that's pretty cool. I'm not going to go too much into the sprues. We'll get some zoom in pictures as I'm going here, but these are pretty much just like everyone had looked at. I mean, again, I'm really impressed. I've heard several people say that I didn't want to like these, but I do. Just because the amount of detail they have for that scale is great. They are nice and clean. They do have some great detail. Again, as I posted in the first video, from being a reenactor on and off now for 27 years, I am obviously not a prescribed historian that I know everything 100% accurate, but you know, some of the blanket rolls and some of what's supposed to, I think, be bayonets that look like all Bowie knives is kind of a little off. Some minor stuff like that, but again, at this scale, and for those who have watched the video that I've already posted, at this scale, they're pretty impressive. And I'm going to try to hold this up here, guys, just so you can see them if you haven't seen that first video. I don't know how well that zooms in a little bit. But that's actually the command stand there. Then you got, well, those are all upside down, but then you got some standard infantry. So again, really decent detail. I'm probably not going to paint these the same way I did in that other video using the instructions out of War Games Illustrated. I'm probably going to mess around with these a little bit, especially the Confederates. I may get a little more uniform with the Union. Again, I've seen some people and heard some people talk about how they've actually taken the, and I'm going to stand up here and look, but these are all pretty much, you know, that some of them have brim hats, some of them have kepis, that kind of stuff. I've seen people go through it and actually shave them all down so they're all kepis, so they're a little more uniformed. I'm probably not going to go that much into detail. I may do a regiment or two just like that if I'm looking for something specific. But they work for some pretty interesting generic stuff. So one of the other things you get to go with the models, let's get into this, and these are pretty cool. So these are the flags that they give you. Don't mind me as I look at new and ah before I show you guys. So I paid for them, I get to see them first. Wow. Okay, so yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff in this. So we're gonna get right into this. This is the Confederate Flagship, and you can see they give you a good mix of flags, and it's cool because it will actually tell you on here Florida State, alternate Florida, Hampton's Legion, the Texas State flag, just straight cavalry guidons you get, which is kind of cool. You can do specific regiments in here, 2nd Virginia, the Georgia State flag, Mississippi State flag. So if you're looking to do some specific regiments, you can probably make that work with what they give you. Some pretty cool stuff, and some cavalry guidon flags, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit with second wave that's already been announced. But that's the Confederate one. And same thing with the Union here. We got, of course, they got 20th Maine. Yep, wouldn't be anything without that. 54th Massachusetts. That's really cool. So again, being historically accurate, if you wanted to do a regiment of colored troops, you got the 54th Mass. That's pretty cool that they throw that in. Custer's Brigade. So they have some Cav stuff in here too. They have Zouave regiments. They have Iron Brigade flags. So some pretty cool flags on this. We'll kind of go through here and take a look real quick. I have initial thoughts and concerns just looking at these, simply because you have a whole row of, let me get the camera here, of cavalry guidons, and then here you have Zouave, and here you have a whole bunch of Iron Brigade, which is great. And I might as well talk about it now. Second wave has been announced, and we'll talk more in detail with it. But second wave is going to be Iron Brigade, Zouaves, and cavalry. Which is great that they're releasing already second wave and are filling those gaps. It's funny because in the first video I specifically said these are great sprues for generic regiments, but if you wanted to do anything specific like Iron Brigade or Zouaves, you'd have to go somewhere else or hope they come out with it. They're coming out with it already, which is awesome. However, my gripe with that is right here then, half of this flag sheet here is for stuff that's going to be second wave. Again, you could, if you really want to throw Iron Brigade or Zouave on a regular regiment, yeah, it is what it is. You can make it work, that's fine, but they're not going to have the look of an Iron Brigade or not. So you're kind of limited to what you have up top here for flags. And then again, even more limited because then if you do the 54th, then they should be colored troops. You know, so there's still some pretty cool stuff here. 20th Ohio, 20th Indiana, 7th New Jersey. So again, really cool, but these are generic, and I'm sure you could find, this is just kind of not even a poster card, just a thicker card paper that you could probably just print flags on, scale them down to size and print. I know there's a couple of really good vendors out there and companies that make 15mm flags. So there's lots of options out there, but it is cool that they give you these off the bat and that they are on at least a little bit of a sturdier cardstock-ish. So you can really do some cool things with them. 14th Brooklyn. I got to build a 14th Brooklyn Zouaves. They are great. Which, hold on, I need to go back and look at this real quick. Alright, so I'm happy about this. On the Confederates, down there in the Zouaves, they have the Louisiana Tiger. So you want to build a regiment full of Bowie knives? Those are the boys for it. Alright, that's pretty cool. Yep. Yeah, cool. Okay, so enough of those. The other thing here real quick is the black powder rulebook, 2nd edition. You get the smaller softback rulebook. Personally, I like the smaller softbacks for bolt action. The starter sets, you get the 2nd edition bolt action rulebook. That's exactly the same format as this. It's exactly the same format as the hardcover books. They don't take anything out. They just minimize it or shrink everything down a little bit to fit into this. One of the things that I like is I don't obviously have the black powder hardcover, so I don't know, but with bolt action, the page number on this is the same page number usually on the bigger hardcover, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're playing a game with somebody and you're trying to both look up a rule and you say, oh, it's on page 62, and one of you have the soft cover, one of you have the hardcover, and it's two different pages, that's a pet peeve of mine. Warlord Games does a really good job of just minimizing their books, and this is great for carrying around tournament size. You can throw this in your travel case with your miniatures, and it's pretty good. Now, I've read through the rules of Black Powder very quickly. I've skimmed it because I never really had anything to play it, and this is one of those rule books from what I've looked at is, unless you have the stuff in front of you or a concept of it, it can get a little daunting just to read this. So I can't speak too much on the rule set. I can speak to the fact that they give you the rule set with the starter set, which is awesome. And of course the Black Powder rulebook covers the basic Black Powder rules as far as any time frame or era that would have Black Powder. And they have some scenarios. I'm just looking through here to see if they break it down by timeline. I don't think they really do in here. But we'll get into this with the next thing I'll show you in a little bit. But so you got the Black Powder rulebook to learn the basic rules of it. So cool, awesome. Next thing, you do get some Sarissa NDF buildings terrain for those who are familiar with Sarissa Precision. I have a lot of their stuff. It's pretty good. This is a North American 50 mil farmhouse and fence set. So they talk about how they give you the stake fences. So you get a farmhouse, a little bit of a barn, and then fencing. I'm not sure exactly how much fencing comes in it. We'll have to get in there and take a look. The box may say itself, but some starter terrain for it. The cool thing I like about ACW stuff is, unlike games like Bolt Action, where the table is usually very terrain heavy because it's small, you know, squad based, you're playing at a platoon level. Playing ACW, especially epic scale ACW, where you've got regiment after regiment after regiment, you know, when you're fighting Napoleonic style, what you're looking for in good terrain to fight on, if you have a choice, is different. I mean, you're looking for, you know, some hills, maybe some swoops in the valley for defensible positions, that kind of stuff. So you don't need a whole lot of terrain for ACW, especially at this scale. You know, a couple buildings, some fences, some stone walls, some hedgerows, some roads, and some fields, and maybe, you know, crops of woods, and you're pretty well set. So I mean, this is really cool that they give you a little bit to start on that. So props to them on that. What else we got in here? Packed for you by Mateo. Thank you, Mateo. I'm liking my stuff already. Alright, and then finally we got in here the Black Powder Epic Battles American Civil War little pamphlet booklet. And then this is, I've heard a couple people talk about it, that this is a shrunken version of a real abridged version of the Glory Hallelujah book, which the Glory Hallelujah book we'll get into is specifically basically how to play Black Powder in American Civil War. It gives you all the stats for units, it gives you scenarios, it gives you all that stuff. This, from what I've heard, and I'm just scanning through here, guys, and we'll show you a couple pages here in a second. So, gives you like a little bit of a history lesson, real quick, brief, abridged. It goes into, it's a couple pages there. It goes into some armies, history on some armies. Just looking through here. It does give you a couple scenarios, and it gives you a real quick rule set on how to play. And I mean by real quick, I mean it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. Then you get into special characters, generals, historical generals, and commanders, and some special rules for playing with them. And then you have some battle scenarios. So very basic, very much like Warlord Games. It's enough to get you playing, get you on there, and then have you dive into the Black Powder rules for a little more in-depth on actually finessing everything. Kind of curious, one of the things with these type of rank and file games is, like, when you're talking about, yeah, like the passage of lines and just how to do, like, movement when you're doing a wheel, compared to a facing movement, like from a line into a column. All that stuff is kind of important. I'm curious to see how this plays. I've played a lot of other rank and file historical games, ACW time frame specifically, that sometimes they muddle it, sometimes they simplify it and get it pretty easy. I'm curious to see how these rules play out. I'm sure eventually I'll end up doing a sit and talk on the actual rule set once I get familiar with it, but I'm not going to talk anymore on that because I really don't know the rules. But very cool that you get that to start. So again, that is the initial starter set. It was $120 if you got it part of the pre-order. I think they're raising the price by like $10-15, I think, when it's just on a regular site, but you can still get it. If you got a friendly local gaming store, consult them, see if they can get it in. Anyone who carries Warlord stuff can get it in, obviously. So it's definitely worth it, and we'll look at things again here. So yeah, I mean, again, guys, I mean, how can it not be worth it? So yes, let's get a good look at that right there. I mean, that is a lot of plastic, ladies and gentlemen. So 120 bucks, I think, is a great base starter set for this. Just for the amount of what you'll get. I mean, again, I haven't gotten the rule set to see exactly how many regiments you're playing with, but I mean, this gives you 12 regiments aside. I'm trying to remember. I watched another short video, and there's a lot of great videos on ACW, so I don't pretend to be the expert and the best. Go and check them out. But I believe I was listening to one guy who's talking about the width of when you have 5 bases across. I'll grab one of these here. But when you have 5 bases across, what your total width of a regiment is. And then when you're talking about playing on a 6x4, I think he worked it out how many, I'm trying to remember how many regiments you'd probably be able to fit. And I mean, it may have only been 5, 6, 7 most, depending how you are. Now, obviously, if you're putting them, you know, stacking them, you'll get more on. But having enough to do 12 regiments is more than you're going to need, I think, for the majority of the stuff. Now, when you get into certain scenarios, again, I'm speaking off the cuff. I'm just talking about what I'm getting for the starter set because I don't know the rules so much. I'm sure with game systems like this, although they may have a point system for just free play stuff, a lot of the scenarios are probably going to be specifically scenario based. So they may not be even as far as what considered points on each side, but they may tell you this many regiments at this level, whether they're green and experienced, veteran at that point, whatever it may be, to build those scenarios properly. The cool thing is you have all the flags, so you could probably get in there and do that. Or worst case, you know, if you just put a little piece of paper in behind it or something that says what regiment they are, so you can keep track of it. You know, or keep it with the commander or something like that. But for the 120 bucks starter, 130, 40, whatever it's going to be now, even at 150, it'd still be worth it in my opinion, for what a starter set is and for what you get. So that is the initial American Civil War starter set. We will get into some of the other fun stuff now as well. Alright, next up we're going to take a real quick look at these two box sets. Say real quick because these should be pretty much exactly what's in the starter set, but I'm going to take a look. So we have the Confederate Brigade and the Union Brigade. You can see in my store, they retail for 28 bucks is what he was selling them for. I think that they're like 32 bucks for a brigade. Now this is a brigade box, however there should be 3 brigades in here each. So what we're going to do is, I haven't even taken the plastic off of these. My handy dandy plastic cutter of a kitchen knife. Let's get into these bad boys and see what we got. Alright, so on the back there you see it shows 3 regiments, 3 artillery, 3 commanders. So these will be real quick and dirty because it's pretty much the exact same thing that you get in the starter set. I'm just curious about a few things. So 3 sprues of bases, 3 regiments, 3 regiments. 1, 2, 3. So In the big starter set that you can get on their website for the 238 one, you get 15 regiments to start. The starter set comes with 120. For 120, the starter set comes with 12 regiments each. These gives you the extra 3 to bump it up to the 15. So I basically have enough to do 15 per side using these, plus the one sprue that I'd gotten with the War Games Illustrated. I have a little bit more. Wait, I forgot. Morella, thank you for packaging. Alright. What I wanted to see, get those out of the way for now, is boom. So, retract my other semi-formal complaint. In each regiment box, they do give you another pack of the flags. So, what I was saying earlier about how the U.S. is 50%, maybe a little under, 50% specialty regiments as far as the Zouaves, Iron Brigade, and Cav, you have an extra sheet to spread the flags out a little bit more. Still, the only semi-complaint with that is, and don't mind me while I look, because yes, yep. So you still have the same. It's the same sheet as what's in the starter set. So unless you want 2 20th Maines or 2 5th New Jerseys, spreading them out is still not going to be enough. Which, by the way, let me look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So with the flag sheets, they give you 12. Excuse me, standard regiments. And by standard, I mean non-Cav, non-Iron Brigade, non-Zouave. So, out of those 12 in the starter set, if you're using these flags, you have no choice but to build these 12. Which, again, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, one's a heavy artillery infantry regiment. Yeah, the 1st Maine. Never mind. Obviously, for the most part, the American flag is going to be the same they can put on there. And really, you can get away with, like, this has a 115th Pennsylvania. That is a PA flag. Honestly, I can't see. I'm too old to be able to see that small to see if it actually says 115th on the flag or not. So, even with a magnifying glass, it'd be tough to see. So, again, you can say that use that as just a regular Pennsylvania regiment, not necessarily the 115th. So, you can probably get more use out of these than I'm initially complaining about. But that's just my initial, because the 18th PA and the 115th PA flags look pretty much identical, so you can't really see the difference. So you can make them, you got a Massachusetts flag, you can make it any Massachusetts regiment. You got a Maine flag, you got an Ohio flag, Indiana, the U.S. Marine Corps Infantry Regiment is pretty cool. So you can probably stretch these further than I initially thought. But again, these are just our initial thoughts. So I'm seeing these for the first time as you are, if this is the first time seeing an unboxing of these. So that's cool. That's that one. This one will open up just to show. Make sure I didn't, win some type of Lucky Charm cereal box prize, but these will probably be the same thing. And they are, so flags just like the other one. I mean, these are pretty standard. I mean, it's cool because the Confederate ones give you more generic than the US, which is kind of cool, I guess. There's just a whole bunch of Army of Northern Virginia flags, a standard for 2nd National and 3rd National Battle flag, and then just some standard Alabama and standard Georgia and standard Virginia state flags. So you could throw up the Northern Virginia, Army of Virginia, all these here. You could throw them up with just like the Virginia flag, a couple flags, and call them different regiments. So it's actually a little more diversity with the Confederate flags than with the U.S. And again, they may fix that. Also, you can find flags on anywhere on the interwebs reverse them, put them side by side, get them down to scale. Wouldn't be that difficult to print some of these yourself. Or if you're too lazy, there's some great companies out there that make flags again. So not that big of a deal. It's just probably me nitpicking more than I probably should, but usually do. So again, 3 bases, 3 regiments. That is as simple as it comes. That's just going to be an expansion to the starter set. But again, pretty cool that if you don't end up having the starter set, one of these boxes for $32. I don't know if they're raising the price on these. I know initially, like I said, with the starter set and with a lot of stuff, if you pre-ordered it was cheaper. The prices may jump a little bit on these. But still, for right now, for basically $10 for a regiment, you know, if you weren't doing massive battles, and again, I don't know how many regiments you need for some of the standard battles, but buy 3 boxes of these for $100 and you have 9 regiments, which, you know, for a battle line along a table would be plenty. So that is that. Now, with the other bigger starter set and some of the other things that you can buy separate is the Glory Hallelujah book, which is the black powder supplement for American Civil War. So I haven't, again, looked at this as much as I wanted to earlier, but from just what I've seen for it before, it's a really great detailed book as far as history on the regiments, as far as breaking it down. Here's stuff on optional rules. As far as breaking it down, even when you get into, like here's the Grant takes command. So there's charts in here for certain timetables during the Civil War of how you would point cost for the units, special rules, how they would be rated based off of that timeline, campaign, battle, scenario, all of that stuff. It breaks down. Here is the 6th Corps, Army of the Potomac. There we go. So, boom. There's how you could build that out. So if you're playing a scenario that says you need 6th Corps, here are your regiments. And I'm reading this upside down, so you're going to have to just deal with it for a little bit. So it gives you the command, so it gives you the brigade, command ratings, all that stuff. So this is a really cool detailed book where you can run some really, really specific scenarios. Oh, Monocacy, awesome. So, and then they give you the actual, of course, Gettysburg, you know, and how to build the plays for that. So, again, some of you have to maybe a lot more educated in black powder. As far as it being, whether it being 28 mil or even this, it's pretty much the same setup. As far as, I don't know if I can set up a game with a buddy and say, hey, we're going to play this many points, bring how you want, or hey, we're going to play this scenario. And obviously, scenarios are going to be very specific to even your table layout, whereas, again, other game systems like Bolt Action, I can say, we're going to play this mission, this scenario, and set up the table however you want. This gets into more like the theater campaign type stuff, so it takes probably a little more setup as far as getting the tabletop ready, and actually building your list properly, making sure you lay out your regiments. Okay, I need to label this regiment as this, and this regiment as this, and then so you have them easily identifiable, so when you put them on a table. And the cool thing is, if you're painting them all generic, you label the command bases and then just put the 5 infantry regiment stands near them, or if you're worried about the flags, then you can do it that way. But it's pretty cool. Some awesome pictures. Let me see here. Fort Wright. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a lot of really cool reading. So, yeah, we won't get into all this, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool stuff in here. So that's the Old Glory supplement for the game system. They also have some more terrain, 2 more terrain packs that came with the bigger set that you could buy separately. First one is the North American Civil War scenery set, appropriately named. You get, looks like, again, another farmhouse, a barn, another smaller barn, farmhouse. I'm trying to think. This looks specifically like, my history is failing me. The barn down by the Peach Orchard in Gettysburg. That there was some heavy fighting around, and I can't think of what it is right now. But that's what that looks specifically for. But obviously, I mean, it's just a barn. But then they have a picture on the back. As I'm looking, I should probably show you guys, you know, what they look like when they're all painted up and done up. So some more terrain there. And then they do have the North American 15 mil Gettysburg scenery set, which of course is the schoolhouse and the archway. Pretty prominent features. Schoolhouse seminary building, sorry, the seminary house, and the battlefield gatehouse, as it was deemed to be called. Obviously it wasn't called the battlefield gatehouse at that time because they weren't really calling themselves a battlefield. It's like saying line up at the monuments. But some prominent Gettysburg buildings if you want to do specifically those things. So again, like I said about the terrain thing, that's pretty cool is between this set and the other standard set you get, a couple more woods, couple fields, couple roads, you got yourself a battlefield. You don't need a whole lot. Something to break up the line so it's not just the two lines, you know, marching right next to each other is a little nice, but you don't want to overdo the battlefield. So between these and between some other 15 mil ACW stuff I already have upstairs, for when I used to play Johnny Reb and a couple other games, they'll work just fine. And lastly, one of the cool things that came with the starter sets that I was able to get, that you can only get with the pre-order stuff, I believe they're not doing them anymore, is the Epic Battles Generals. And I'll zoom in on these here. But we have the Meade. Camera. We have the Meade one, and I'll actually open these up and show. And then we have General Lee. So specific miniatures for them. There's 2 to a base, so I'm assuming, like the general and his aide. And in the rule set, there is specific special rules for these guys, so I'm sure they're giving some type of command bonus when they're within a certain distance. Packed for you by Stu. Alright, and I gotta be careful because I know my luck and I'm gonna lose these guys. Well, wait a minute. I may have to email Stu here. So, there is, let's see how well this zooms in, if it'll focus, but there is General Lee. It's pretty good sculpt for that scale. And the reason why I say is I have a horse with legs, no torso, which usually the torso is separate. It's usually I think the other one here shows it, and I'll get into it, shows the flag. So I'm assuming that's what this guy's supposed to be, but I'm missing the top half. Wait. Yeah, I'm missing the top half. That's just junk on my table. So I'll have to see what I can do about that. That's a bummer. Okay. That happens. Lots of little pieces. And then let's get into Meade. So I get to look at them before you guys do. Man, they are actually pretty good sculpts. And I wish the camera could zoom in enough on them. I don't know if it will. The light, but that's really cool. That's a good sculpt. So you got Meade, and then yeah, you got the bottom half and then the top half, which is the now lost as well. No, which is now the flag bearer there. So you can actually have like his headquarters flag with him, which is kind of cool. These are as they've deemed, the Warlord Resin, which is a mix of resin and, as much as I loathe to say the other name, but like Finecast, Games Workshop Finecast. It's kind of like that, except better. Better detail, better molding, not as fragile and breakable. Ben's a lot. For those that play SPQR, they did a lot of their stuff in this Warlord, or this War Games Resin, Warlord Games Resin, as they're calling it, which is actually pretty good stuff. So yeah, that is everything. It came to like $252 with taxes as a starter set. I know the price is going up on the just the initial starter set. This special package deal, the bigger one on our website, is only good for a limited time. Hopefully this video is up before then, so I can still say jump on there and buy it if you're interested. It's definitely worth the money. And I know they were saying with these special characters that you can only get them if you ordered by a certain time frame, but they may still throw them in because I got them and I didn't have it ordered by then. But I don't know, again, if that's just because my store hooked me up or what that may be. So that's everything in first wave. Since then, they have also come out with some trees that they're throwing for more terrain, which are just like fall trees, summer trees. Any type of 15 mil trees work, so I don't know if I'd spend the money on them. You can go to Michael's, Hobby Lobby, any place, craft store like that, Joann Fabrics, that usually have a little bit of stuff. Let's just get that back in the film while I'm talking here. So you can get stuff like that. They have also announced for their second wave that they're now going to start doing specialty regiments. They now have the Zouaves out, the Iron Brigade, and Cavalry. Again, I'm going to be curious to see how it is, because Zouaves, yes, you can have, both the North and South had Zouaves. Zouaves is very tough as a generic regiment to do, as just Zouave or Zouave, as you like to call them, because a lot of the Zouave uniforms were different. And even in then most regiments, not most, some regiments had an actual Zouave company. Like the 93rd Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry that we portray out of Lebanon, Pennsylvania, had a, I want to say it was either Alpha or Bravo, had a Zouave company. So you could, the cool thing with buying those box sets is I could take just a base and mix them into regiments. If I want to say that that's that company, portraying that company, you can kind of do that. You know, they have the flags for building the Tigers as a Zouave. The Tigers uniform is a little bit unique in itself. So again, generic would be kind of interesting to see. The 14th Brooklyn, I think would be a really cool Zouave uniform or regiment to do. One of the things that's interesting is even Zouave units that started out in the Civil War in their Zouave uniform, after that, those uniforms started to get ratty and they were getting new supply issue, they were going to the blue uniform because that's what the Federal was being issued. The 14th Brooklyn was one of the very few Zouave regiments to actually carry their Zouave uniform through the entire Civil War, because they were privately funded and they were still having stuff shipped from New York to stay in that uniform. So you could probably, again, buy one box of the Zouave regiments, which I didn't say it, but the new second wave regiments coming out are going to be $56 a box from what I saw. Again, that is because it looks like they're doing those in their resin material. They won't be in plastic, so that's probably why the price hike is. Unless they have that much more detail and they're worth it, I don't know. But you can buy a box of that, which will have 3 regiments in, which would be 30 bases. And again, you can kind of mix and match them into other regiments to kind of give them that look, depending what time period you're going for. So that's kind of cool. Iron Brigade, I think that's awesome. You're definitely going to need some Iron Brigade, especially if you want to do Gettysburg Day 1. You're going to need some Iron Brigade. They're doing them, again, as generic, that they can be used for North and South. I don't know. That's what they said anyway. All their stuff is going to be out, like Zouave can be North and South. Obviously, there wasn't really any Confederate Iron Brigade as far as the top hats. So, Hardy's hats, I should say. Call them top hats, but Hardy's hats. So, that'll probably be Union unique. The Cavalry, from my understanding, will be for North and South. So, you can use them for either or. But all that stuff is already for pre-order on their site, so I think it is awesome that they are supporting this and coming out with more stuff. There is rumor that third wave is going to be announced shortly. My understanding for third wave is that they will have dismounted cavalry, that they will have Berdan sharpshooters, which again, specialty unit. There a lot of people who are not over them in their green uniforms probably portrayed a little more than they should be. I don't know how much, a box set of those again spread out would probably ever suit you for one. Cool novelty thing to have. I'd probably buy them just to paint them up. They'd be pretty cool. So Berdans, dismounted cav, and then apparently there's going to be some casualty markers, like wounded and dead markers, which would be pretty cool, just to have kind of scattered through the battlefield, or you can show kind of portray like where there's a lot of action on the field. So that's third wave. Again, between second and third wave now, all you have the Zouaves and the cav and the dismounted cav that will be universal. You now have the Iron Brigade and the Berdans that's more Union swayed, which makes sense because the Union did have a lot of different specialty and uniforms, but it would be kind of cool to see some variants if they came out with the Confederates. Most of these models that are in here make a great Eastern Campaign, Army of Northern Virginia, if I could speak today. It's great for that. It'd be cool if they came out with maybe some Western theater type looking ones. But again, I've already seen people painting these up where they have the gray, they have the jean cloth, they have the butternut. They're going nuts with all different kinds of mixed variances. And although that did happen, it'd still be good to have some uniform type stuff. So we'll see what happens with second and third wave. I haven't bought into them yet, but I'm sure I will eventually. Once I get through the daunting task of actually looking at this thing and starting to put together in prime. So that's it. I went probably a lot longer than I wanted to for an unboxing video. Again, my thoughts are that this is totally worth it. I think it's an interesting game system. I have no concept of how it plays, so we'll see. I may have just spent a whole bunch of money for it to go, I don't like the game, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Because most of the stuff is pretty good, and I've looked at Black Powder before. I just didn't like it in 28 mil. So I think this is going to be a great medium, and I think that's it. I think we've covered it. I'm still just kind of trying to get over the shock of how much plastic is in this box and what I'm going to do with it. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any comments, if you've gotten this stuff before or have gotten the starter set as well, give me your thoughts, comments, that kind of stuff. Hopefully the camera was okay. It's my first time doing an unboxing with the camera overhead like this. I try not to shake the table too much and try to avoid some glare and get everything in here. What I'll probably do is at the end here throw up some closer camera shots, just still shots of the boxes, the models, that kind of stuff, which again, if you've watched the first video, you've seen close up, and if you've seen any other pictures of these, you've seen them. Seen one sprue, you've seen them all with this, which good or bad, that's what it is. So I think that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Do the obligatory like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And hopefully we'll be seeing you again shortly. Happy gaming.